about home. They're married to real estate.
Well, welcome. It is a pleasure to be here today in the company of one of my dear, dear friends. But without Mary McCauley, she was unable to be here today, and she sends her love. But she sent all kinds of good jibes, vibes to welcome our guest today. And so I'm Mary Forrester today, and I would like to welcome to Married to Real Estate the most wonderful interior designer I have ever met. And her name is Virginia Hottel. And welcome, Virginia.
Thank you very much, Mary, and thank you for inviting me to come here.
Oh, exactly. So I met Virginia 33 years ago in a very different environment. I met her in Arthur Murray, let's see, we must have been Falls Church at the time, but Northern Virginia, Tyson's Corner, and we were learning to dance at the same time. And if you haven't ever joined a group like that, you get to meet some of the most amazing people in the world. And so I met my very first interior designer. I had no idea what that was all about. But that began a 33-year relationship where my world has been improved, my home has been beautified, one little bit at a time. And so I want to share that experience with you today. And I want to encourage you to just not sit in your home and think, oh, I wish I had this and that. Let's find somebody to help you do it. So my somebody today is Virginia Hottel of Wright Whitmore Design Group. And so Virginia, I know you've been an interior designer a few more years than today. And I know you started with getting a degree in interior design, right?
Yes, I did, from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, and I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in interior design.
Yeah. And so what did you study? I mean, why you might know color, what else? What did you study when you were there?
Everything to do with interiors, residential and commercial. At the time I was in college, we started by learning about some of the most beautiful furnishings and interiors in the past, most of which was the 18th century. We started in studying Italian, French, and English in that order. And for 2 of my 4 years, we studied what is considered period furniture. And I learned that if you could understand why those pieces of furniture are considered some of the most beautiful pieces of furniture in the world, then you would understand the principles of good design and be able to apply it to any style of furniture, including contemporary.
Wow. What made it? I mean, why that period in time? Was there like an earthquake or the Renaissance? Or?
The Renaissance. It's the beginning of the Renaissance, yes.
Wow.
And there was a great deal of wealth in Europe. Rome, Florence, on to Paris, London, great deal of wealth, and people who were truly desiring to present to the world their wealth, their taste, their knowledge, their experience, and they were able to express it in the buildings and the homes and castles and palaces that were built at that time.
But we don't have those now. So what is it that people get to value and enjoy today from that? I mean, how when you've worked on my house, what is it that you thought about from maybe that period of time, or maybe there's just too much to think about to bring to the principles of design in our house?
Well, as I was saying, the understanding the past, as in a lot of history, gives you a better perspective of today. And by understanding why these pieces of furniture and these rooms were considered and are considered beautiful, Versailles, Chatsworth in England, that knowledge, that firsthand knowledge of having actually drawn these pieces of furniture and elevations, basically taught me the principles of design, which are scale, balance, and proportion.
And I know we've had those conversations about scale, balance, and proportion.
Yes, many times. Because they are the principles of all good design, not just interior design, but architecture, clothing. It applies to everything. And so once you learn from the past what is considered beautiful, then you can take that same knowledge and apply it to contemporary, transitional, all styles.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd like to describe that. Now, maybe the first thing that you helped me with, I was unmarried. I had a condo in Arlington, Virginia, and I bought a house from 1945, an end-unit townhouse, 1945. The original cabinets in the kitchen, and I just needed to start, making it pretty. And you came in and you told me what color to paint those cabinets. And I think they were purple, or they were sand, and the walls were pale aubergine, which means purple. And I remember you just started to give me some advice, and then I started to hire you to say, okay, I want this space to look better. And you were just awesome. You just changed my world. You changed my world. To the point that when I painted the walls flesh colored and went to sell the house, I said, do I change that? And you said, nope, everybody is going to look good in this room, is what you said. That was all those years ago, Virginia, you said those things to me.
Still applies.
Still applies. Isn't that fantastic?
Yes, it is.
So you have a philosophy, I know, about the work that you do. And So you told me you open a door, and what is it that you want to do?
Well, my personal goal has always been to create a home or an office, an environment, wherever this person is functioning and living, that when they open that door and they walk into that room or that home, it makes them feel good. It makes them happy. It makes them smile. And that's what I've experienced all the years in the homes that I have been privileged to live in. And that is what I want for every single client.
And you have mastered an approach so that dealing with all these different clients, you achieve that goal to hopefully 100%.
Well, 99.
99. Okay. So, do they all look alike?
No.
Are they all your taste?
No. I have only done one home that I would ever have said to a client, I could own this home the way it was, the house, and the way we designed the interiors. That's one. And I think something like 130 projects I've done.
Wow, terrific. That is awesome. That is really awesome. So we love our home. And we've moved a few times recently, and each time I've called you and said, help. And that's something else you do too, right? You help people kind of move in and still take what they love and put it in a different space.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As long as that, whatever it is they love is appropriate and creates a beautiful room in the new space. I learned a long time ago that I will never do anything that is not good design.
Yeah, but tell me, Grandma's table, Grandma's table.
We can find a home for it.
We can. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because there's a lot of emotion that goes with some of these things, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. There sure is.
This is an aside, but I remember one of Carl's bosses, a general, he started collecting U.S. Indian artifacts.
Ooh.
And he brought home his first pair of dirty moccasins. And he told his lovely wife in their lovely German general home, look what I just got. And she said, they can go in the guest room. And he said, And when we saw their house, all the walls were covered with papooses and costumes and all kinds of things. And she says to us, he can put them anywhere except the kitchen and the bedroom. Virginia, I wish you had seen that house. You would have loved it.
I would have loved to have seen that.
So it's hard for me to elicit what it is you actually do, but I wonder if you would describe one of your funnest projects. And I know you can't mention names, so one of your funnest projects.
Well, I was given the opportunity to work with a very special client, but I was told that I had two elements I had to work with. One was a Caucasian handmade rug that was very attractive, and the other was Leroy. And Leroy was an elk's head. So I designed this space, which was an office, to look like a hunting lodge.
Wow.
Yes. And it turned out that there was also a little Leroy, which was a deer head. So they both wound up in my client's office. And I would tell you that the client was very pleased and wrote a very lovely thank you note.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
And was a repeat customer, I understand, too.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really awesome. All right. So I can imagine that having an office designed and installed to look like a lodge, a hunting lodge, can be very expensive. And I can also imagine that not a lot of people spend that money on their environments. So how can you start working with an interior designer? And maybe it's our own experience. How can you start working with an interior designer so that you get the benefits of all that training, scale, proportion, and something else? Balance. And start to bring it into your world?
Well, I think for anyone considering hiring an interior designer, they really do need to know that deep down inside for them that this is very, very important. Because as in all things in life, quality furnishings, be it furniture, rugs, window treatments, whatever, are not inexpensive, okay? But they also ultimately, in my professional opinion, will save you money, because if they are done well, you will own them, if you choose to, for decades.
Yes.
Okay? I have clients that I did work for many, many years ago who still love the rooms that I designed for them. Okay? So it has to be a priority. It has to be something that's very important to the client. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that it's very important to communicate with your designer so that the designer first and foremost understands how this space is to function for you. Mm-hmm. Because all good design is based first and foremost on function. Okay? If you design a room that this client needs seating for 8 and it only seats 4, then you have not fulfilled the function. The room may be beautiful, okay, maybe an absolutely beautiful room, but if you haven't fulfilled the function that the client needs, in my professional opinion, then you have not provided the service that you're supposed to provide. Mm-hmm. So you need a client that communicates. You need a client that can share with you how this space is going to function and what their personal taste is, okay? If someone likes purple, okay, then that's a color, because color is the most personal thing in the world. That information needs to be shared with the designer. That they also need to know if you have a style preference, if you like traditional or transitional or contemporary, what those are, because there was one thing that was repeatedly spoken at every class I attended, and that was, as a designer, you are designing for a client, mm-hmm. and it needs to reflect their personal taste, not yours. And so communication is very important. And
what if they don't know?
Then you show them options. You make them aware of what a traditional piece of furniture looks like versus a contemporary one. You show them a range of fabrics that show color and pattern, and you introduce them to what's out there so that they have an opportunity to see things and then give you that feedback.
I remember going to an event with you in which you carried some magazines and you handed It was Architectural Digest or Better Homes.
No, it was Architectural
Digest. And you handed these magazines to this person, and you said, "Okay, we're going to get started, and I know you have some issues that you don't know what you like, so I'm going to ask you to fold down the pages of anything that you really like." And I thought, "Wow, that was easy."
Well, yes, that's one way. One way to approach it is to be able to get people to look at things and respond to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
How fun. Okay, so. There are a whole lot of variables, right? A whole lot of variables. You know or you don't know what you like. You like something, but maybe the other people in your household don't like that. You have pets or you don't have pets. You have children age 2 to 6, or guess what? The house is empty. We now pay tuition, and now it's just us. So there are all these variables in place.
Yes, and again, that's the important element of communicating.
Yes,
to make sure. And if you have two people in a home who view things differently or have different tastes, then there has to be a compromise for them. Where they come together to decide what is really important. Okay, because again, this home or whatever space I'm designing is not for me, it's for them. And so those are questions that you have to ask, and you have to encourage people to think about it, because those are very important decisions that have to be made.
So let's take the mystery out of working with an interior designer. Okay, we have a conversation about what we like or don't like. Maybe we don't know. And you then lead us through this process of learning about, okay, I like that, I don't like that, my husband hates that. And then we have a further discussion, right?
Yes.
And you work out, okay, I'm going to present you with a plan.
Scale drawing.
A scale drawing of what I think this space would look best, given what we know so far.
How it functions.
I'm going to give you an estimate of the price of doing this specific project.
That's correct.
And we can talk about different levels of it. So I know, for example, in a furniture line that we've purchased, there are different levels
Yes.
of what those prices are. And then what about colors and fabrics? When do we figure those things out?
Well, what I do after I have done a scale drawing and done a budget estimate for a client, I get a retainer from the client, because in the world of interior design, probably 75 to 80% of the work that you do is done before a client actually orders anything. So I get a retainer. It is applied to purchases. Once I receive that retainer, then I will put together a presentation that will show clients multiple choices. Okay, and I do it one room at a time. Okay, I don't try to overwhelm people, and if someone's hiring me to do their entire home, we start with the rooms that are the most important, which are usually the public rooms, the foyer, living room, dining room, rooms that not just the client uses, but family and friends and guests use. So, and then I put together a presentation and show them multiple choices, not only for furniture, but for fabrics. I will always tell a client what is my professional best recommendation, and I will tell them why. Okay, and that's the start of the process.
And my experience was, you gave Carl and me, you had a bunch of different possible fabrics in a room. We did a big sunroom, right? We did a big sunroom. And so we had greens and we had cream colors and we had, there were no bright colors like red or anything like that, but we had choices, and it was so personal. It really was personal.
Yes.
And then we would talk about colors of walls, and you would say, if the wall is this color, for example, today we went to visited an office where the predominant color was red. And so what would that do to the room? And you would tell me what it would do to the room and what your recommendation was.
Yes.
And then there was sometimes there was considerable price difference in some of the fabrics.
Oh, yes. Even more so today than, say, 20 years ago.
Right.
Yes.
And some of them are child-proof and pet-proof.
That's correct. Indoor-outdoor fabrics
Indoor-outdoor
and performance fabrics have become very popular. They used to be geared to outdoor furniture, indoor, outdoor furniture, so poolside furniture, that kind of thing. Now they are gorgeous fabrics. I have them in my own home because I have a cat. And so that's part of what communicating is to understand what the needs are.
Okay, so you have now gotten some indication from the client which they prefer, and then how long does it take? What do you do, and what could your client expect in terms of installation?
Okay, prior to the Great Recession, I would have told most clients that they're looking at probably about 2 to 3 months. Mm-hmm. Okay, unfortunately, since the Great Recession, a great many companies in my field of furniture and lighting and all of that, have gone out of business, and so it's a much more limited market than it used to be. And so today it generally takes longer than that amount of time.
Yeah.
There are some exceptions. If a piece of furniture is in stock, okay, and it can be shipped immediately, if that's what the client wants, we do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't own these companies. I don't control them. And so all I can do is give to a client the information that's given to me.
And create expectations, right? The idea is to make sure you're setting reasonable expectations.
Yes.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, so the fun part is Carl and I have been using Virginia's services. Even though we moved out of Northern Virginia, and she's in Northern Virginia and D.C., we have still used your services all these years. And I'm one of these unusual clients. I like change. I like things change periodically. And
which, from an interior designer's point of view, is the best client you could possibly have. And to have said that I have enjoyed working with Carl and Mary is an understatement.
And our dogs have loved it as well. Okay, so now we know kind of what happens when you design a space. But today we went and visited Keller Williams' offices, and they have a conference room that, oh man, I walked in that conference room and I thought, I don't want to negotiate anything in this room. It was a typical office conference room with a big table and gray walls and gray floor and fluorescent whatever in the ceiling. Yeah. And I thought, how do we as realtors make this a better space? More inviting and just friendlier space for our clients who come in often stressed, right? Stressed. They're about to make a big transition. They have to make a decision. So what did you do today when you went into that office?
Well, initially, from the conversation that Mary and I had before we went there, I had high hopes of being able to recommend a beautiful, inviting color. But in this office space, which has gray carpeting, there are very bright red walls that this conference room looks out on, because one wall to the hall is basically windows, it's glass. And so that automatically limited what I could do in terms of a paint color. But because the room is long and narrow, my recommendation is to find artwork, and it does not have to be expensive or original, but artwork that has depth so that you're looking at something that has a perspective. And being able to put that artwork on the two long walls to, first of all, visually break up the space, but also for people sitting at the table looking across, just like I'm looking at Mary right now. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at Married to Real Estate on the wall.
Right.
Okay? To create something decorative in that space that gives people a feeling of comfort, okay? And also to make the space look wider. So anything that's a landscape, anything that has a perspective is going to do that. And then we came around to, at the end, the idea of replacing this lighting because it's very cold and very uninviting. And so the recommendation was to replace the fluorescent lighting with incandescent canned recessed lighting, and putting quite a few recessed cans in the space on two different controls so that the lighting could be controlled, but to change the impact of the light in the room from being very cold and sterile to being warm and inviting.
Wow. So when we talked about that today, we surprised the team lead, and we surprised ourselves, really, in terms of what the potential is in this space. Yes. And from a business owner's perspective, I'll speak for the business owner, dear Clara, forgive me, and just say, it's important to have a space where clients come into and they feel comfortable.
Yes.
They're not turned off by the bright fluorescent lights, the gray walls, the brown furniture, the blank gray walls. And so we discussed what it might cost, A can, I think a can is $150 each. At least it couldn't be any more than that now. And so with 12 cans, a few, 6 pieces of art and getting them framed, that's where the money probably will be. And, so a few $1,000s, that space changes the experience of the clients. Not only the clients, but the agents themselves.
Yes.
And the closings that happen in that space. And I could say it's just really worth it. And that's been our experience in our home. So people come into our house and they typically say, I feel like I'm in a really nice B&B where each room is very different, but that they connect to each other in terms of how they feel. And that's what all these years of kind of doing this project and that project, they're happy there. They're really, really happy there. And it's obviously transitional, right? That's the style in the house.
Eclectic, a mix.
Eclectic, yeah. So that's nice. That's okay to be eclectic. And we've really had some really pleasant times. The important thing is that Carl and I love the space.
Yes.
We love, and we know we can change it. So we're about to change it.
Yes, you are.
And so I encourage people to just look around your space and think about, is this the way I want to use this space? What's happening with living rooms and dining rooms these days, Virginia?
They're vanishing.
Yeah. And the other thing I know you got really excited about is walls. You like walls.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about walls and how important they are.
Well, they're the single largest element in a room, okay, are the walls. Even if you're talking about a wall of glass, sliding glass doors or whatever, they're still the single biggest element. And they are also, for the most part, when you're walking into a room, it's eye level. So what you're looking at is always, and first going to see what is at eye level. So with walls, using a color to paint them can change them. Using artwork can change them. In the rooms that require built-ins for storage or display, like you have in your family room, those are all walls, and they all have to be treated in such a way that they enhance the room and make the room more attractive.
And they do. And I love your concept that paint is the least expensive form of decorating, really, or in this case,
in this
design.
case, yes, decorating and design.
And
applies
design.
To both, yes.
So we have a purple house. We have purple dining room. I'm not tired of purple yet, Virginia. I
Good.
think we're going to have it for a little while longer. But we're ready to shift rooms. And we've done that several times. We did that in Vienna, Virginia when we lived there. When we got so tired of being cramped in a space for a dining table, so we took a big room and put the dining table in a big room. Carl thinks he lives in Downton Abbey, but that's what he thinks for his dining room. That's always his standard for a dining room for the few times that it gets used. And televisions.
Yes.
Televisions, so important now in our lives,
Yes.
right?
Yes. There are very few rooms that today don't get televisions. Okay.
Yes.
Living rooms, studies, bedrooms,
Dens,
all family rooms, breakfast rooms. People want to be able to watch quote unquote
media.
television.
Yeah,
Media.
Some media. That's right, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to do that.
Yes.
We're going to have a project this summer. We're going to shift rooms for not a lot of expense, really.
Very little.
Not very little expense. We're going to shift rooms, and that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Okay, so we've talked about projects. A project is a room, typically, right, or a space.
That's correct.
And you have tremendous experience and range of these spaces. I can remember some of these projects, like when you had to wood panel a large foyer, Wasn't that somebody's home in Great Falls, maybe?
No, it was actually a 19th century farm where the original farmhouse was a separate building, the home, from the kitchen. And the prior owner of this estate had connected the two rooms with a laundry room, closet, powder room. So what was originally the kitchen was now this client's den, their family room. And they wanted a wine closet and they wanted a flat screen TV. This room was done, I think, 11 years ago. And they didn't want the TV exposed because it's a traditional home. And so we paneled all four walls in this. And behind one of the sections of paneling was where the TV was, and the wine bar that they wanted was also enclosed with pine paneling. And all of the furniture was done in indoor-outdoor fabrics because they had two dogs. Mm-hmm. And I was just at their home recently. We're updating one of the rooms a little bit, not much, but because of the dogs.
Yes, yes.
So yes.
Our other children, yes.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Oh, good. So now we understand kind of how projects work. But I really want to emphasize to people, look for help episodically. Just like we did today at that office, at that real estate office. We went in knowing that there was probably a limited budget on this project.
Yes.
And you offered your design advice. You're not going to provide anything else, just your design advice. And you could tell that Paige Farley, the team lead, was just thrilled because she knew that table was going to stay there. And, she knew that the carpeting and was going to stay. But they could change lights. They could do art. You gave her a solution.
They can change the entire room without spending
it.
A great deal of money. Yeah.
And fellow realtors, I have to say, I've had several experiences where I've hired Virginia, very, very short term in Northern Virginia. I had a townhouse, 30, 40-year-old townhouse. The appliances were so old. The seller could not afford to do any updating of the kitchen. And she was a horsewoman. And she had a beautiful hunt scheme border. The first thing we do is tear down borders, right? But she had a hunt scheme border in her kitchen, and in it, so I said, Virginia, what can I do here? Because I know she doesn't have the money to do this. We're taking the equity out of this property. And you came in and you told us to take one of those colors. You actually selected the color for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it was teal or aqua or
a blue-green.
And why did you do that? Why did you pick that color?
Well, color is the most important element, and the human eye is always drawn first to color. So when you have elements that you do not want to be accentuated, and you're referring to the kitchen and the kitchen appliances, if you put a dominant color in that space, people are not going to see the kitchen cabinets.
And guess what? They didn't.
That's right.
They didn't.
They won't.
I did the open houses. This was not a fast market in those days, and it was probably during the recession or after that, the Great Recession, where we call it. And let's see, it would be 10, 11, something like that.
Right in there.
And I held two open houses. Nobody walked into the kitchen and said, "God, these appliances are old," and the house sold. And they would walk in the kitchen and say, "This is really nice." Just because of paint.
Just because of paint. Color.
Just before color.
Color, yes. Color.
It was magnificent. It was really, really magnificent. So realtors, I know that we hire stagers to come in. And stagers may bring some interior design. Mm-hmm. They may bring some decorating experience, probably.
Yes.
That's probably what they're doing. But also, if you think you have a certain situation, reach out to an interior designer and say, "Can I buy an hour of your time, and just come here and help me solve this problem?" Because that's really what it was.
That's what it was.
And for my client, it was a gift. She got to sell that house and move to where she needed to move to, and with no headaches around that kitchen, which was really magnificent. So I urge you, hire people like Virginia Hottel. and it will make your life so much easier. Make the deal easier and people happier. What else could we want, huh?
That's what we all want.
Okay, so I've monopolized this conversation, Virginia. What did I miss?
I don't think you missed a thing. You're very good at what you do, Mary.
How's your dancing?
It's limited, but I still love it.
I love it too.
Yes. That's where we met.
That's where we met. And I just want to thank you so much. In real estate, people ask us for discounts. Can we have your commission? Things like that. When I got to know you, I got to appreciate that what you have, the skill, the knowledge, the talent, is your product, is essentially your product.
That is correct. A client purchases furniture from me and rugs and window treatments and lighting. They purchase all of that. But what I am truly selling is a beautiful room that functions for them and reflects their personal taste.
Priceless. Thanks, Virginia.
Thank you, Mary, very much.
Appreciate it.
Mary, Mary.